And we're live.
This world is not what you think it is. This world is not what you think it is.
The control system, the global control system, wants us to focus on a dot. This is what it does in science with its specializations. You focus on one dot. And if you focus on a dot without peripheral vision, then you don't see how the dots connect. So you're completely in the dark of the bigger picture. You only see one dot within it.
The world is a lie. Nothing is real. The world is a lie. There is nothing I can feel. Mama didn't tell me that the world is unreal. Imaginary external lies and unreal. To the lies and to the fairy tale lies, not the prince of ways. I never get told what is real and true. That's why I put truth out of the blue. Never really did. No one really cares about our heart it hurts. The world is a lie. Nothing is real. This world is a lie. There is nothing I can feel. This world is a lie. Nothing is real. This world is a lie. There is nothing I can feel. Nothing in the world will really exist. In universe, reality and twist. Different vision and fear might have hold up that the world is a sport. So many things. The earth is the earth. Only what the lies get told in this world. No one really cares. No one really cares. And now our heart get hurt. The world is a lie. Nothing is real. This world is a lie. There is nothing I can feel. This world is a lie. Nothing is real. This world is a lie. There is nothing I can feel. This world is a lie. Nothing is real. This world is a lie. There is nothing I can feel. This world is a lie. Nothing is real. This world is a lie. Nothing I can feel. This world is a lie. Nothing is real. This world is a lie. Nothing I can feel. Who's up the back? Come on. This world is a lie. Nothing is real. This world is a lie. There is nothing I can feel. Merci beaucoup. Merci.
The control system, the global control system, wants us to focus on a dot. This is what it does in science with its specializations. You focus on one dot. And if you focus on a dot without peripheral vision, then you don't see how the dots connect. So you're completely in the dark of the bigger picture. You only see one dot within it.
This world is not what you think it is. This world is not what you think it is.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to Connecting the Dots with Richard and I. Tonight, we are with Mark Sargent, the man who brought you Flat Earth Clues, Truth Frequency Radio. He's on Flat Earth and Hot Potatoes with Patricia Steer, and he has an upcoming documentary coming out called Behind the Curve. Hello, Mark. How are you, darling?
I am doing very well, and I gotta say that was probably one of the most professional introductions I've ever heard. Very well done. Considering how I know you can throw down, it is amazing how reserved you are right now. I am so impressed.
If you was to see the fourth wall of this ramshackle setup, yeah, I'm so appreciative of you saying that. Massive respect.
It's the glasses, the fact that you probably brushed your hair like 100 times in each direction. That's awesome.
These are my glasses version of a lab coat. As soon as I put the glasses on, all of a sudden I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wore heavy black frame glasses on Patricia's show, Flat Earth and Hot Potatoes, for months, and nobody realized that there were no lenses in them. For the longest time, there was literally no lenses, and people were going, something's going on. They couldn't put their, yeah, you've got lenses. You actually have, yeah.
There's not, look, no lens. No lens. I'm right with you on that one. Yeah. So unless you had touched on that subject, I would not have just but ask me no questions and I'll tell you no lies, you know? So
there you go. There you
go. Literally, I said the same thing to Dave Murphy. I said, this is my lab coat. Like, I might do activating like this now on the street and see if it changes public perception.
Oh, it does work. Absolutely. The glasses work. Well, heck, that's been a social thing for years and years and years, the glasses. But the lab coat, definitely. I mean, you've got nice eyes anyway, but your outfit, you know, everything up to the top, straight, you know, everything well put together. Oh yeah, you look very credible.
I've got a backdrop going on here, and I haven't got Google Flat Earth clues, but I think I've covered everything else.
Yeah, you might as well be a newscaster on a local television station at this point.
Oh, nice. It would have to be a truth one, like Truth Frequency TV or something.
There you go. That's pretty good. Somebody should jump on that.
Yeah, there you go. You heard it best. Speaking of lab coats and whatnot, when you go out, do you do activation when you're in the gas station and?
No, I mean, mine is more subtle, and it seems to come unsolicited. So, like, for example, yeah, I obviously have a lab coat. In fact, I had to give my lab coat away at the last meetup in California that I went to. But the license plate on my car, I was the first one to do that. It says it's flat, because in the United States and Canada, we can do vanity plates where you can put anything you want. So if you're a doctor, you can put doctor or whatever, you know, cycle or what you name it, bling. But so I was encouraging people for a while to use the 6, 7, or 8 letters, depending on what state or Canadian province you're in. And now we've got most of the United States and I think half of the provinces. And the northern Canadian provinces we don't have, because I'm pretty sure they have sled dogs. They don't actually use cars in the northern part of Canada. Pretty sure. It's just a theory. So, but when I go out, most of the stuff that I run into is unsolicited. People will come to me. It's usually just a kind of mine's more of a soft sell. So they'll come to me. It's like, oh yeah, so what do you do? What are you into? Blah blah blah. And the funny story I'll mention, because I haven't told this to a lot of people, when I was flying out to Canada for the conference up in Canada, sitting next to a woman, and the shuttle service that I took down to the airport, most of the time I get to sit alone, and this time I was sitting next to a woman, and she was kind of nervous because she doesn't travel by herself. She was a younger woman, and she goes, hey, so what do you do? And I go, well, I want to tell you, but to be honest, I don't know if you're going to be into it. And, you know, and that just intrigues. Play it, for me, I play it like, you know what? I don't think it's going to be your thing. And they're like, that just kills them. They're like, well, no, seriously, tell me, I want to know. And so I went into my nickel tour of the Flat Earth. And by the time we got to the end of it, she says, hey, do you have a card or something that I can give my babysitter? And I go, your babysitter? I go, why? And she goes, oh, she goes, my babysitter told me about this 4 months ago. And I didn't realize how big it was. And I go, why'd you let me go through that whole thing? And she goes, because it's really, really interesting. And so, you know, I signed a thing for her babysitter, and she went. But there are people, I'm not kidding you, where I use that video clip, there are flat earthers everywhere. You just don't know it. They're walking among you right now. They are all around you. It's except that there's no indicator of who these people are. There's no things on their sleeves. There's no special stickers. I mean, yeah, there's some people that wear, t-shirts like what you've got on and stuff like that. But people are becoming more bold. Definitely. I would estimate, and I'm not exaggerating here, that 90% of our membership are in the closet, because I've talked to them. I've talked to all sorts of people, including my own family members, that say, "Oh yeah, totally into it." Not coming out, not yet. They do not want to be on the dance floor yet until they'll make sure they're not looking stupid.
Yeah, until it's socially accepted, there's just a lot of people that just refuse point blank to talk publicly about it or be seen talking about it. I've seen certain people be completely comfortable talking about it until they see the cameras on them, and then it's like, wait a minute, did I just say?
I think they're just lying doormat and just waiting for the right thing to
I call it like a smoldering pile of fuel, where everything's heating up to the point where you can tell that just about anything, all you need is a little burst of flame and the whole thing goes up at once. That's kind of where we are. I mean, I've talked to so many people in different professions, including, you probably heard the rumors, A-list celebrities, power brokers of Wall Street. It's not just the sports guys. The sports guys were easy because when they're traveling, doing a lot of road games, especially if you're baseball or basketball, you got a lot of time on your hands. It's like, you know what, I'm going to go down YouTube, and then you freak out. But these other people, it spreads around. And the reason why Flat Earth is spreading to just about every corner and every circle of influence that you can think of is that it's bigger than those things. It doesn't matter how rich, how powerful, how beautiful, how talented you are. Flat Earth is bigger than you. Flat Earth can work its way into the conversation. So when I heard the story about how Flat Earth was into the conversation after the Academy Awards this year in the United States, backstage, it was like, okay, well, apparently we can get into there. And then when I heard about the Wall Street stuff, it's like, because why not? Let's face it, when we're talking to each other, we share, after we get past the weather and what our local football team's doing and all this other stuff, eventually it boils down to, hey, before you leave, I've got this interesting story. And then it's, oh, really? I heard something interesting too. And, we kind of try to one-upmanship each other. And then eventually somebody throws down the Flat Earth card, which is again what happened at the Oscars, where people were talking about conspiracies, and an A-list celeb walks in and she goes, no, let me tell you what my father's into, lays it down right there. And it's like, yeah, so no, we're everywhere.
So speaking of that, I know probably because a lot of us do a lot of street activism, sometimes it's not actually recorded. When you go to the gas station and when you go somewhere, do you actually flat smack?
I will only, for me, I am the freshman recruiter, to be sure, but mine is a soft sell. So I'm not, when it comes to street activism, I love people that do street activism, respect the hell out of them. But for me, I usually have them, I want them to instigate at least the first move. Where they say, so what's the shirt about? Hey, what's your license plate about? Hey, what's that hat about? Or whatever it is. And I go, okay, here's what, here's what it is. And I'll give them my, depending on how much time we have, anything from 30 seconds to, in some cases, half an hour or an hour, if they're willing to sit there and listen. So yeah, I mean, I have flat smacked some amazing people. But it generally, for me, it's weird. I don't have to generally, for me, go out of my way to do it. It just seems to find me. I don't know why. So I will do it. So no, as far as going down to the street corner, I usually have been either busy with so many other things that I can hit more people going to meetups. My flat smacking is usually at groups things where you have rookies that are just showing up. So when I do meetups in different parts of the country, or if I do the conferences, like when I was up in the conference up in Alberta, Canada, I ran into all sorts of people, and most of the people I flat smack, I hate to say this, is media. It's usually the people that come to me, because I've done, oh God, I don't even know. I stopped counting after about 200 interviews, and all those people, they're back on their heels almost immediately because they think, okay, this guy's obviously crazy. We're gonna wait until he sounds like he's off his freaking rocker, and then we'll go in on him. And I, if I get a head of steam going, they're like, I mean, I've literally had a guy on a radio station like pull out a bottle of whiskey because he's like, okay, throws it on the table. It's like, okay, well, you gotta. All right, I gotta do something here. Those guys will blaze up and just be along for the ride, because what I've been told is, at least, and we can segue in the documentary eventually, is that I'm approachable. People, I don't come off as the director of the documentary told me, he goes, look, he goes, part of this movie wouldn't have been made except that you come off as so normal that that it's hard to find something in like a facial tick or like a double speak or what, or I'm talking about all sorts of weird stuff, wearing an alien hat, even though I like aliens. So
yeah, that's
anyway,
what David
sorry.
Weiss was about you. Yeah, that's what David Weiss was saying about you. Just like, man, just like a regular dude.
I'm just a regular dude. So it's tough to really pigeonhole me and say that I'm a real dark conspiracy tinfoil hat type of guy, because I'm not. I taught technical support and I taught proprietary software for 20 years out in Colorado. Ran an HOA out there. Never got married, never had kids, but that's just because I was busy doing other things, circumstances. But the rest of it was pretty normal stuff. Nothing outlandish, pretty normal childhood. So here I am now doing flat Earth.
Nice.
Go figure.
Nice. Is this like the second year, going on the second year for Flat Earth Clues, right?
Actually, the Flat Earth Clues, believe it or not, it's 3. So the Flat Earth Clues, initially I created a little, going backwards in time here, I initially created in February of 2015, where I started in 2014 looking at this, hated it like everybody. And that's the first thing I tell any of the media that I smack in the head. I go, look, I hated Flat Earth, hated it more than anybody. I used to collect, I'm unique in the Flat Earth community where I used to collect antique globes. I'm not kidding you. I had globe bookends. I had globes off of spindles. I had globe models on my walls. My walls were covered with Mercator maps. I loved the whole idea. And so it was really difficult for me to finally kick in, to Flat Earth. So, and it took me 9 months. I had less content to go through, but when I made the clues the beginning of 2015, when I woke up in the middle of the night and said, you know what, I can't prove the globe in a court of law anymore. I can't do it. So I honestly thought, I said, okay, the internet hive mind is way more intelligent than me. I will just put it out there and someone will come back and say, oh yeah, here's where you screwed up. You can shut down your channel now. I'm not kidding. I was holding my breath going, oh, please. That's what my phone number and my name and my address. It's like, call me. Somebody tell me how I screwed this up. And then people start calling me going, no, man, no, you didn't screw it up. There's something really wrong here. There's something going on. I'm going, really? Okay, look at this. Look at this. Look at this. And I just started piling on to it to where now my vacuum chamber experiment challenge, which I put out there. It's like, prove me wrong. Tell me how the spacesuit works. Put me in a vacuum chamber. Pull the switch. Nobody's going to do it. The five science questions that I threw at the guy from Georgetown University, where they wouldn't even run the piece. He wouldn't even debate it because he couldn't answer them. So anyway, sorry, long answer to a short question. 3 years. Sorry, Roxanne. I don't mean to ramble. You got to remember, I do this now for a living.
No, I'm full absorbed here. I find it really interesting hearing different people's perspectives for how long they've been in this and what they've done getting to where they are now. Right. So I think if someone said to you, if someone said to you 5 years ago that you'd be doing what you're doing now, what would you have said? If you'd have gone to yourself 5 years ago and said, listen, Mark, you're going to be doing this. You
want to see my reaction? That's bad. I would have laughed myself out of the room. There's no way. I mean, like anybody, everybody hates it. I'll use I'll drop a name here real quick, which is, this is a perfect example. I did a debate. It wasn't even a debate, with Stanton Friedman, right? The world's greatest UFO guy, right? He's debating me because it was the only guy we could get to debate me. And we're talking, I knew he wasn't going to do any research coming in. And we're in this thing 10 minutes. And all of a sudden he goes, whoa, 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 whoa. He goes, you're talking about this flat earth thing like it's a real thing. It's not like a metaphor for something else. It's not like a crazy, it's like you're like, it's real. And I go, yeah, it's absolutely real. And he pauses, right? You know, and he's like 80 years old, and he goes, well, how does that work? And it's like, oh God. So that's, same sort of reaction. There's no way 5 years ago, although, you know, I still wouldn't have, I would have been shocked, but I wouldn't have been completely blown away because I was a conspiracy guy. So I had looked into, again, out of conspiracy boredom, I looked at every conspiracy you can think of. I have an opinion on everything when it comes to conspiracies, and including flat earth. Back then it was like, oh yeah, flat earth, it's junk. It's the run to the litter. It's the thing you're never ever going to look at. It's not serious. It can't be serious, right? Because it's been solved. It was solved 500 years ago.
Right. Christopher Columbus and everything. Mark, speaking on that, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Have you reached out to any of these agencies and asked them some really tough questions?
You mean like NASA?
NASA, all the satellite companies, all of this, because this is something that me and Roxanne, we got in the works. We're going to ask these people. We're not going to even mention the word flat earth, because it's not even about the flat earth. I mean, it's flat if we believe it or not.
I've had the chance to speak with a couple people directly. One was, of course, oh boy, crap, I can't remember his name. I'm not supposed to say crap. The astronaut Terry Virts. Terry Virts, when I got a chance to interview him when Piers Morgan had me on Good Morning Britain. That's a thing. Good Morning Britain. Yeah. So he had me on, and you can't see it on YouTube because they copyrighted the hell out of it, and so you can't show it. I mean, they blocked it. It's not like they're going to strike people; they just block it. And I had a chance. I did not know that Terry Virts, one of the United States astronauts, was going to be on there with me. The producers called me up and said, "Hey, how would you like to come on?" And the last minute, it's like, "Yeah, by the way, we're going to have Terry Virts." And I thought Terry Virts was going to come in via satellite, and he wasn't. He was there in the studio, sitting right next to Piers, and I'm going, okay, what are we going to do here? Because I got to be a little honest. Piers Morgan is a little bit intimidating from a media standpoint, because I've seen interviews of his go horribly wrong on both sides. You know, he's not shy of, like, you know, either leaving himself or cutting you off. And so my entire point was to just make it through the interview without him cutting me off, because it takes 2 seconds. Producer, all Piers has to do is wink at a producer and you're gone. And it's like, oh, I don't know what happened to Mark Sargent. Maybe we'll get him back. And you never come back.
And you know, they're feeding him questions in his ear anyway. So
yeah, they're feeding questions in his ear. But they did ask me, you know, they're putting American versus American. Do I think that Terry is lying? And I tried to be as delicate as I said. I said, look, I go, Terry is a United States military officer. He's an Air Force colonel, right? A full bird colonel. When you get out of the space program, I mean, that's way the heck up there. The man knows how to keep a secret. He's not going to say anything. I go, he gets brought up on treason. I go, so he may not be a bad guy, but yes, of course, he's lying. You know, he's faking it. Now, does he know why he's faking it? Maybe, maybe not, because it's compartmentalized. It's like, okay, Terry, you're going to fake this and this and this. Are you going to tell why Terry is faking? He doesn't. It's above his pay grade. He probably doesn't have to even ask about that. The other people I talked to, which I thought was very interesting, was, because you're asking agencies that I've talked to. I talked to a company out of California. It was one of SpaceX's rivals. It was called Interorbital. And again, completely unsolicited, where a German group got a hold of me and they said, yeah, we know the execs at Interorbital that supposedly send rockets into space, that launch satellites. And how would you like to talk to them? You know, this won't be for an interview or anything. We just want you to be on the call. You know, we're not going to use it for anything, and it's not going to be recorded. And I'm going, okay, sure, why not? So again, this call with these guys, and we did get to that one point, because the question was, you know, if there are no satellites being launched on top of rockets, my suspicion was that NASA would have complete control over that launch. Meaning, if no matter where you launch a rocket from, NASA's going to want to know, because they're going to take over telemetry, and they're going to make sure that everything. One, they're going to make sure that rocket goes off into the drink somewhere, and that whatever transmission you're going to transmit, they're going to take over. Right. And I said, hey, I got to my chance for my one question, and I said, I go, did you have to brief NASA on what's going on? And it was a man and a woman, president and vice president. It was like a husband-wife team. And they said, no, we don't have to report to NASA. I go, oh, that's interesting. She goes, but you know who we do have to report to? I go, no, who? She goes, and everybody has to report to these guys. Every country that has a space program has this agency. It's called, hopefully I don't screw it up, but the Atmospheric and Transportation Safety Bureau. And she goes, months and months before you launch, you have to tell them everything. Every last detail about your rocket, blueprints, payload, transmission frequencies, the whole 9 yards. You have to give them absolutely everything that has to do with your launch. And I go, really? She goes, yeah. She goes, that means something? And I go, well, probably, but I'm not going to get into it right now. I'm not going to lose you as an audience. It's like, okay. So I thought that was very, very interesting, because exactly what I would think. And that is, so what I mean is every rocket that goes up, it takes people out of the loop. So yeah, at this company in California, you can build your rocket. All your employees can build the rocket. They're perfect. They don't know anything about anything. The people that build the satellite, they don't know anything about anything. The rocket goes up. This organization takes over the telemetry, the rocket goes off into the drink, and then they send you exactly the data that you were expecting.
Yeah, that's when they hit you with the CGI as well.
And everything. And what I'm saying is everybody involved in that process, with the exception of the corporation that you, or the government organization that you were reporting to, nobody knows anything. They're completely ignorance, probably a bad word, naive to the whole thing. They don't know what's going on. And so you could compare that with any space. So when everyone says, oh, every space agency has to know, all these millions of people from JAXA and Israel and Europe and the United States and Russia and Japan, they all have to know stuff. It's like, no. Only the telemetry guys need to know. Only the very, very few guys, the guys that deliver, and by telemetry, I mean just the raw data that's coming from this. Only they have to know. And if you have any doubt of that, look at the old movie, which I still refer to even now, called Capricorn One, which is all about the telemetry. Everybody on
the guy that did the intro for our video actually uploaded that onto his channel. He uploaded the whole movie onto his channel.
Oh, yeah.
If you click onto John THOR's channel, you'll be able to see that within 2 clicks, the whole feature-length movie. That movie did it for me. No one knows what the bean counters are doing in any company. When people throw that to me at Hyde Park, they go, too many people would have to know the lie. They don't. They would. No, they don't.
Nope. No, they don't. No, I knew. I was lucky when I was in Boulder, Colorado. My next door neighbor, you can look this guy up. His name was Wayne Ottinger, Ottinger, and he was literally the garage mechanic for Mercury and Gemini and Apollo. He knew all the astronauts on a first name basis. His walls were just covered, bristling with awards. I mean, he was career JPL, NASA, still alive. I'm still on his Christmas card list, and he knew nothing about nothing. I mean, and why would he? I mean, he's the guy. It's like, look, he built the LEM. So why you don't have to tell him anything. All you have to do is say, look, build this because we have to, you don't tell him why you're building it. And you don't even give him that. It's like, look, okay, here's the engineering specs, build this. And he's like, okay, doesn't mean you have to use it. Just means that he's building it. And he can actually, and it works for you because he can walk around and say, yep, I built it. And he could pass a lie detector test and no problem there whatsoever. The Capricorn One, little trivia for you there. On Capricorn One, you guys can look this up on Wiki. The whole reason that movie was made was because the Apollo footage was so bad on television. It was so grainy and second generation. It was so awful that a producer from I think it was a CBS television station who ran a television station, who had a little money, he goes, heck, I could make a better production value than this junk that I'm watching. And so he did. But he said, I'm going to take it one step further. I'm not going to make a fake moon mission. I'm going to make a fake Mars mission. And so it was an independent film. And it's still, for me, last thing on this, one of the creepiest moments ever for me in cinema. And it's absolutely dead true how they would do it is when the telemetry guy who wrote his own program and figured it out, figured out something. He knew something was wrong. The second
guy and saying, didn't he? He kept on saying that something's not right.
Something's not right. And the second he told his reporter friend, I mean the second, False phone call. The reporter goes up to the bar. He comes back. His friend is gone. And when he goes to his friend's apartment, he has been erased from existence. Like a new person has moved into the apartment. All the magazine labels have the correct address. It made it look like this lady had been living there for years. He's going, what are you talking about? He's one of my friends. I just had drinks with him. And while he was even, questioning that, they were rigging the brakes on his car. Truth is, they probably would have just killed the reporter. But it was a fantastic movie. Don't tell me what can't be done. Look, we're living in a world of movies and television and virtual reality. We can do a lot. So
absolutely, Mark. You used to do. I mean, you used to be in the graphics and stuff like that, right?
Yeah. I was in the game industry for years.
I've been putting this out to people, man. I need you to. I mean, I want to ask you this, man. I need you to get together something, right? Or if you know someone that can get together some graphics of what it actually would be like living on a ball and with gravity. Like something like, nothing really, just something simple, something that we could actually show and tell people, hey, this is what actually would feel like if we actually was living on a ball and gravity was actually a real thing. Something simple. I haven't seen it out there like that.
The thing that I like, there's actually some really good stuff out there. The one that gets glossed over quite a bit, and you've seen it, is the solar system flying sideways. Like in a corkscrew, like a shotgun pattern through space, where the sun's in the center and the planet's like a dinner plate flying sideways. And that particular graphic is so perfect to show people. So forget about, of course you can talk about the Earth spinning and the Earth going around the sun. No, it's the solar system flying sideways. And here's why it's important, is that between those gaps, between like us and Mars and Jupiter and Saturn and so on, there are these null points, these Lagrange points, where there is no, if you believe in the solar system at all, where there's no gravity, where there's nothing holding it on. And you're saying, okay, what's that got to do with anything? Okay, well, let's say you're sending a probe from Earth to Saturn, which supposedly we've done. Once that probe has gotten to a certain point and this thing's flying sideways, that there's the solar system's can't hold on to that probe anymore. That probe you've lost it in the dust. It's like dropping a golf ball outside of a car window. Yeah, that golf ball is going to stay with you for a couple bounces, but it's going to lose momentum really, really quick because there's nothing holding on, nothing holding on to it. And that solar system model gives a lot away. It should not. And in fact, if you're going to go that far, have somebody in astrophysics explain to me how Halley's Comet, which, remember, the solar system's flying sideways, right? And Halley's Comet is going these big loops outside of it. It's like, okay, what's pulling Halley's Comet back every 75 years? What force is pulling it back? Because we're already doing 500,000 miles in one direction. But you can't tell me that gravity's snapping it back and then it goes faster than the sun and then goes all the way back out. It's like, what? No. It's not happening.
Complete nonsense. Right. It's actually absurd. Right.
Yeah.
I'm actually pissed off at myself that I believed in this nonsense for so long.
Right. Yeah. I'm sorry, Roxanne. What was that?
That's exactly what I was going to say. I was going to say, with all of those things going into what we were supposed to believe, I can't believe I believed all that in the first place. You said it.
That's why.
We believed it.
When I made the clues, I didn't delve into a lot of the astrophysics, the how the Earth spins. I tried to keep as much math out as I could, but there was one thing that I couldn't let go, and you've probably seen it a million times, which was the core of the Earth. That part bugged me a whole bunch because it shows it. Does it prove a flat Earth? No, but it shows how far science is willing to go to take questions out of their world, meaning, if you believe in the globe, it's 4,000 miles to the center of the Earth, right? And then they show all these bands, the white in the center and yellow and orange and red and the crust, and they keep saying, well, it's like, well, how did you determine, these perfectly layered bands, how did you determine this? And they say, well, from geologic formations and volcano activity and magma. And it's like, so what's the deepest hole you ever drilled? And it's like, 2,000 miles, that's halfway, 1,000 miles. You got to remember, 1% is only 40 miles. They haven't even, it's a fraction of a percent. It's only 8 miles, 12 kilometers. So you're telling me, you know what the entire Earth looks like, and not only that, you're gonna go on top. Then they'll say, okay, yeah, we also know what the core of Mars looks like, and Jupiter and Saturn. I'm going, come on, and to be fair, in the old days, and you could probably find some old textbooks, they used to have in small print at the bottom of that, that cutaway illustration, small print saying, we don't really know, but this is kind of what he expected to be.
There used to be
used to be there, and then they got rid of it. And the second they did that, science then changed from a pure factual based system to a pseudo religion. And people say, well, that's not true. That's not fair. It's like, really? Because when you show a 9-year-old that cutaway globe, and then you show it to him again when he's 18, by the time he's out of school, that's gospel. That's what it is. And that person is willing to defend it. And it's just because you showed it, not to drag out the point, but what I throw people when I'm flat smacking is, it's like, look, I go, take NASA out of the equation just for a minute, right? Forget about the picture, because remember, NASA didn't invent the globe, right? They just showed you a picture of it in 1972. How did you know before NASA? And they'll look and they'll start spinning, you can start to see the wheels spinning. I'm going, you don't know because it's a fact to you. You know because somebody told you. So, what's the difference between that and things like Santa Claus?
Yeah, so true.
Absolutely. Mark, you've woken up quite a few people, man. A lot of people, not quite a few, a lot of people. I've heard even a lot of people that's really in the top echelons of Flat Earth if you was part of their, being, waking. How would you, what kind of advice would you tell the people about when people ask, because this is the kind of questions that me and Roxanne always ask people all the time, and we talk about is, who's behind this? Like, what would you tell people to tell people who's behind all of this?
Why are they lying about the shape of the Earth to us?
Mostly because of control. That's the good one-word answer, but the bigger answer is science, which is, look, we protect our own interests. That's the same in corporations and entertainment and sports and business. We protect our interests. If you build up an institution for 500 years, if you build up science, and science has done wonders in 500 years, right? But, not without a bunch of mistakes, which we may or may not get into. But if you build up that institution for 5 centuries, and then all of a sudden you discover some information that says, okay, it may not be. Most of your major sciences are built on the foundation that it is a globe. I don't care if it's geology or biology or hydrology or archaeology. Take your pick, right? They are all tied to it in one way or the other. And all of a sudden you're saying, oh yeah, we're going to gut punch science. And you gotta remember, it was science the ones that discovered this in the first place. Are you really going to shoot yourselves in the foot if you're science? Or are you going to say, I'm not kidding. I put myself, part of my training when I was doing support was that you try to empathize with the other side. And it's like, it was not hard for me to put myself in the government's shoes, which is like, they're sitting around a meeting going, so how do we tell the public, and what's the worst that could happen? And then you list off, oh my God, the academic shockwaves, the economic shockwaves, the religious apocalypse that might happen. And then all of a sudden it's like, a wave of fear comes over them. It's like, so you're saying that some of the universities might even shut down over something like this. And then they say, yeah, we're going to hold on to this until we can figure out a way that the public can digest it without running through the streets with pitchforks and torches. Now, I don't think that would happen now. Would it have happened in 1960? I don't know. Maybe. There was only 3 television networks and the internet wasn't even a whisper back then. So but yeah, the short answer is still control, which is science. Science got it, right? Science was the one that figured it out. So is science going to hurt themselves for the truth? No. Right. Absolutely. No, they're not going to do it. We're talking money, we're talking power, and you're also talking, you're talking about people that there's been beating the churches over the head with textbooks for the last 500 years. You're gonna go back, which is why I talked about it in the clues. I said, look, you're gonna tell the churches, oh yeah, by the way, you were probably right about a few things, but don't start hitting us in the head with the King James. Right. I don't know how the church was.
The problem with the flat Earth, it proves that they lied about everything. I mean, name something that they didn't lie about. You know, just
if you lie, yeah, and it also, you're absolutely right, and it opens up the second part of it, which is, okay, if you lied about this, what did you tell the truth about? You know what?
Right.
You know, forget about just the other conspiracies. Say things like, oh, I don't know, evolution, carbon dating, the Big Bang Theory, that stupid thing called dark matter. You know, all that stuff.
So you believe there's something more sinister going on, right?
I think, I think that flat Earth is, I'm sorry, that the globe was put in place for control and power, but it's part of something bigger. It is. I think flat Earth is part of it. Look, we're not getting that much resistance compared to what we could have. If you know, social media is just software, it's just programming. You could stunt us in like 8 different ways, and they haven't been doing it. So I think that flat Earth, to use an analogy, is the frame for the canvas that we haven't seen yet. You absolutely need it. Without the frame, you can't lay out the canvas. But flat Earth is the ultimate open-minded test for something that's bigger. To use a boxing reference, it's the left jab before the right hook. Well, what the heck is the right hook? Because flat Earth is huge. I mean, flat Earth blows people away. I mean, there's a reason why we call it flat smacking. People, I'm just grateful that, because I was worried when we first started doing this, and it's only been 3 years. That there would be a percentage of the population that wouldn't be able to handle it. That there'd be a percentage of the population be like, you know, do a whole bunch of drugs and alcohol and just not be able to hack it. And we haven't seen that. We haven't seen any acts of violence, really. We've had, well, I mean, I can't even count what's on your side of the pond, Roxanne, but we've had hundreds of meetups over in the States, not to mention conferences in 4 countries. And we haven't had a single out of place incident that's been, you know, that's made headlines, that, you know, all of a sudden, you know, that it came across my desk and it's like, oh yeah, did you hear 2 people got killed? You know, something like that. So it has been, I still think it's got the potential for something really, really good. You know, I'm just, you know, hoping as it gets bigger, of course, you know, there's going to be some logistical issues as we move forward.
I think with them lying about the shape of where we live, I think, like you said, I think the right jab is going to be, once we, you know, when we find out where we live, will we by default get the answers to who we are and who the designer is?
Why not? Why not? I mean, there's only a couple things I could even think of that could be bigger than flat Earth. One, of course, is the admission of the existence of another civilization. And I'm not going to go and say, oh, you know, the Martians, the Venusians, or anything like that. I'm talking about an older civilization than us. And that's not a stretch. Everybody's got their suspicions. We've had them for a long, long time. Take your pick. The sunken cities off of Japan, the sunken cities off of India, the Bosnian pyramids, Bimini Road, the Bermuda Triangle. It goes on and on and on. We know full well that we are not the first people to rent this apartment, not by a long shot. So who are they? And then, of course, the only thing bigger than that is, you know, who created it? You know, who was
definitely a power grab. But I mean, what's going on right now? It's a power grab,
right?
Is that what you feel? Is that
well, it's. I think. Do I think that
good versus evil? Good versus evil.
Oh yeah. There is some good versus evil here. No question. We just don't know who the players are. I mean, everybody's got their beliefs and where it could be, and I don't want to go into chapter and verse too much, unless you guys want to go into chapter and verse.
It's an invisible war, right? It's an invisible war.
But yeah, there's a war going on here, and we don't know what exactly the stakes are. But again, we've got our ideas, and we've got our stories and our books that cover it. But it is an interesting intrigue. I think that the flat Earth is going to lead us into a way better understanding of how this whole thing works.
Absolutely. Let me ask you a question. There was a video that just got put out a few days ago, maybe about 6 days ago. It was The Cutting Room. Have you seen it?
I have not.
Awesome. Well, I want to share it with you. I want you to watch this. This is supposed to be, I want you to use your own discernment, some new footage supposedly that's put out that they found in the cutting room. And that's
wait. Well, I'm sorry. I forgot the title. I can actually comment on that.
Okay.
And awesome. that is no. The cutting room is a slick bit of editing, and I don't want to burst anybody's bubble, but I recognize, because I'm a huge media guy. Okay. I recognize the intersplicing, and what gave them away funny enough, because we were talking about it earlier, was Capricorn One. Somebody found the Capricorn One outtakes. I didn't even know there was Capricorn One outtakes, but I recognized them immediately. And they did, again, it was very slick how they edited it, the two helicopters, the biplane, the people in the studio, and they interspliced those enough in it that, and then of course, what they did was they used some of the audio from the outtakes and overlaid that on top of actual Apollo and some Gemini footage, I think, and then changed the color palette and added a couple graphics. No, it was a very slick piece of work.
Yeah, that'll be slick.
Whoever did it, and it's not going to hurt us in any way. No. But yes, it was.
There's nothing that they could put out we already know they faked the moon landing. It's like there's no evidence. There's no more evidence I can see. You know.
No. I'm actually amazed. What always stunned me about the moon landings, the American space program, is how the world believed it. Most of them, with the exception of, and I'm going to give you guys credit, Roxanne, because I think the UK media knew that there was something wrong, because they went so far, again, using the James Bond Sean Connery movie Diamonds Are Forever, where he ran across a fake American moon stage. And, you know, and the best part about that was the subtle thing. The astronauts couldn't catch them because they were in character. So they were running in slow motion and they couldn't actually catch him. And he's just blowing right by him, steals a moon buggy, which was weird because, like, okay, this moon buggy looked actually better than the ones we supposedly put up there, and then drives off through a wall. And that was, I think, a little nod to, other than that, the rest of the countries, they didn't believe it as much as the United States. United States, you know, go team, wave the flag, you know, we can do no wrong. I was really surprised though, the other countries, but then again, they saw the pictures, they saw Life magazine, they saw the television footage, and of course, if you have enough people around you saying, oh, look what the Americans are doing, you know, who's gonna question it? It was a fantastic piece of propaganda that has not aged well over the years. Let's put it that way. The one that I still go for, which and I wish I had a prop in front of me because I'm going to bring one to the conference in Denver, is the basketball reference. And if you allow me real quick, and let's pretend I'm holding a basketball right here, right? Basketball, it's easy, you know. It doesn't, as long as it's inflatable. You know, it doesn't really matter. It could be a volleyball, a soccer ball, a football in the UK. I know you guys don't like the word soccer, and then basketball and so on and so on. But as long as it has air in it, and or just a regular old balloon from a birthday party, and people forget how it works. It's something we don't teach to kids. We teach geography, we teach grammar, we teach history, and occasionally social studies, but we don't teach physics to kids. And it's like, okay, how does that basketball? What's happening there? It's like, well, there's air in it. Okay, why is the air pushing on the outside? Well, it's like, okay, because there's more air. There's higher pressure inside the ball, and there's lower pressure outside. The air is trying to get out. It's trying to get out in all directions of that basketball. And you're going, what's your point? I go, because every other thing that we pump air into keeps the shape of whatever it is. I go, except for one thing, the spacesuit. The spacesuit, and it's like, well, you're saying a spacesuit to turn into a basketball? I go, no, it's not going to turn into a basketball. It's not round, but it's going to take its shape. It's going to go completely rigid. You're just going to have arms sticking out to the side and legs sticking straight down, and the pressure from the outside, you're not going to be able to bend anything. You're not going to be able to bend your knees or your shoulders, your arms, and the big dead giveaway is your hands. Right? Your fingers, you're not going to, you might as well be wearing oven mitts. You're not going to be able to work those fingers. You're certainly not going to be working on complex electronics, building a moon buggy, setting up a satellite dish. You will not be able to move. Right. So my question is, why doesn't a spacesuit act like that? And there's only two answers you can come up with. One is magic, you know, Harry Potter type magic, or two, because they're not in space. And then that starts freaking people out. It's like, what do you mean they're not in space? I'm going, well, it's something that we do in Hollywood all day long. We gloss over things. And that is, it was a brilliant, I challenge anybody, look up the old footage, and I'm thinking of doing a thing on this. Look up the old footage when they were designing this first spacesuits. They knew the fabric, the soft fabric was never going to work. They knew this. And so they were working with plastics and metals. Only a hard shell will work. And at the end, somebody comes up with the brilliant idea. It's like, well, if we're faking it anyway, why don't we just use a soft fabric? No one's going to know.
Right.
And they did. It was perfect. They was like, oh, and people running around the moons or playing golf. No one's exerting any effort at all. You got to remember, if Even if you could have articulation points, the pressure would be so great. You'd have to be the most amazing athlete ever. Yeah, because every time you put your arm down, it would pop back up. And you would do this every single time. And so it was great. No one caught it. No one caught it. Not the journalists, not any of the media, not the population, because we don't teach it. It's like, because they saw the footage. It's like, well, they're there and they're working and everything's fine. So it must work. And I go, really? Tell me the technology. Tell me. And I'm saying this to you guys because I'm rehearsing this, which is eventually I go, they're going to come up with one answer. And the answer is layers. They're going to say, well, it's the layers. And I'm going, no. My winter coat has layers. All right. Layers only keeps the cold from getting to you. That's all layers are supposed to do. That's thermal. I go, once you get layers into, I don't care if you have 30 layers, right, around a basketball. The second you pump it up with air, they all crush down to one single layer and it becomes a thick balloon. That's all it is. Now tell me if it's not layers, what it is. And nobody has anything. And the reason why I'm sorry, I'm a little enthusiastic about this part, which is the reason why I'm absolutely 100% sure about this is because I can't even come up with a fantasy technology that would take care of it. Meaning, okay, you're basically saying, okay, put a basketball in a vacuum chamber and tell me the technology you use to make it not blow up like that. Tell me a piece of technology. 2018, I can't think of it. 1969 definitely didn't exist. 50 years from now, I can't think of a technology. And so tell me, physics students, what stops the vacuum from turning the astronauts into a parade float? Right. Sorry, that's the end of my little rant.
Let alone Nixon with a cord. I mean, a phone with a cord on it. Talking to them on.
Oh yeah. Well, that's different. I mean, yeah, he could pipe that phone through different things, but that's not the biggest problem with that. The problem with that was he was talking in real time. There was no delay, and you're tell me the power, tell me the wattage, tell me the power source that's using on the moon to try to beam that signal back. Going to the moon, that's one thing, right? 230,000, that's a stretch anyway. Tell me what you brought, tell me what battery technology you brought, and that dish has got to be lined up perfectly. Absolutely perfectly. And what, no crackling, nothing, no signal loss. No, we're just talking to him.
That was the first time they went on the moon, right? Was when he called him on the moon, right? Or was that the second time?
No, that was one of the later ones, I think. Okay. Because 68, did the president call him in 68? 2001 A Space Odyssey was released in 68. The first Apollo mission was 69. I'm trying to think. Nixon wasn't. No, I have to look this up because Nixon may have called him in 69, but there were more. But it didn't really matter. It doesn't really matter what year he called him. The point is, it didn't. It should not have worked.
No, because if you notice, if you look at the footage, the reason why I want to know is if you look at the footage, you see a picture of a moon landing, a moon rising on the White House wall. So, and I'm like, and no one really noticed that. No one really talks about that. So if you go back,
right. Oh, heck, if you're going to go down that road, go 20 years later when Al Gore was the vice president of the White House. In fact, he even talked about this. I did a video on it. He talked about it in his sequel to Inconvenient Truth, which was Inconvenient Truth, the Inconvenient sequel or something like that. Whatever, it's something clever. And he was talking about how he was in the White House and he had the Apollo 17 blue marble shot on his wall. And he goes, it's kind of dated. I wonder if I get something new, right? So Vice President of the United States calls up NASA, says, hey, do you got anything else besides this shot? And they said, no. And he's on camera saying this. They go, nope, we don't have anything. He's going, He's going, and so that's when he came up with his own He wanted to create a satellite program that would take the second picture of the Earth from space, the second blue marble shot. And by the time he got up to the point where he was just about ready to launch, they were, the term had run out. But, all they did was stall him. And it's like, oh, sorry. And then the program was scrapped. And then they didn't do anything until the summer of 2015 after we started asking. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Sorry, Roxanne. Roxanne, I know you've got a list of questions. What you're looking intently at them. What do you got?
Yes, she does. She told me she does.
I'm in the process of like taking note and staying absorbed at the same time. And then I keep thinking, I can watch this on a replay and take note, Roxanne. You don't have to take note live.
Well, yeah, but you look so professional doing it.
Bless you. Bless you. I'm thinking just with what you're saying, you've touched on so many other subjects while you're kind of talking to us.
Right.
I really wanted to ask you, with obviously we're having this conversation on the platform of the fact that we know we're not on a spinning ball. So if we put that to the side for a second, what would be the 3 most other important subjects that you think people should be talking about, especially out on the ground? Like I go out onto the streets quite a lot and talk to people. I know the moon landings being faked is an important one to talk about. I know that there's quite a few obvious ones, but could you maybe give me 3 maybe not so obvious ones?
Well, I don't know if you heard the ones that I did for the speech in Canada, but the 5 points, because they were the ones that came to me. I think that the company out of Germany, and I don't know European television that much, I think it's called ZDF. They were the ones that contacted me and said, look, we've got somebody for your challenge. We've got a Georgetown professor, and they said, can you come up with 5 quick science questions that science points that we, say you're going to start, we'll record you, and then we'll put you, we'll take your tape and we'll play it for him, and then we'll record him. That way you guys aren't talking over each other. You have time to formulate your answers, blah, blah, blah. And they go, but can you come up with 5 quick ones? I said, yeah. I don't think that'd be too hard. Now some you'll know and some you probably won't. The most obvious one, because it's the easiest one to test, which is the one that everybody ran out to the beach to do, which was long distance photography, which is the point which I love bringing up to media when I can. I said, look, because usually here's what'll happen. You'll ask somebody and they'll say, how do you know that it's a globe, blah, blah, blah. And they'll say, well, because of NASA. And I'll say, okay, throw out NASA for a second. And they will almost immediately go to the fact that boats go over the horizon. And I say, they used to. They don't anymore. I go, you used to be able, 15 years ago, yes, boats used to go over the horizon. But now with HD digital zoom, and I don't care what brand you use, the Nikon one is excellent. Now you can bring those boats back into frame. You can bring planes back into frame. You can even bring the sun back into frame. So everyone that goes about that sun setting argument, you can stuff that. It's not going anywhere, because the sun looks like it's setting, and then we zoom in at beach level, and it's like, well, yeah, because they say, well, all I have to do is go up on a up a little bit of elevation, and I can bring the sun back up. It's like, yeah, but we can do that without going up in elevation. Explain that, right? It's like okay, it's a push. That's the first one I go after. The second one is the vacuum of space, with gravity versus the vacuum of space, which is how does you say the gravity, and it's a weird argument. You get it, you've heard this, I'm sure, with people. They say, you say, how does the atmosphere stay on? And they say, because of gravity. And you say, well, the only reason you're saying gravity is because we're still breathing. It's like, well, something's keeping the oxygen here, so it's got to be gravity. And then I come back and say, is that the only possible explanation? Does it have to be gravity? And then then they start thinking, I go, or it's enclosed. We're in some sort of pressurized enclosed system, and in which case it's pressure. Which is the other part, which is where does the atmosphere end and the vacuum of space begin? Where is the bleeding edge of space? Because everything that I have ever heard about the vacuum, the power of a vacuum, and the industrial vacuum expert I thought was excellent that came on my show. And he says, look, he goes, you have no idea how crazy powerful it is. There isn't even enough horsepower to generate 100% vacuum down here on the ground. It's that extreme. When you get up to those final 5%, it's ridiculous. And so how can you tell me that gravity, which we don't, is holding that atmosphere against a vacuum of space, which is everywhere. It's on the outside of that basketball. How are you doing that? The third one is the moon eclipse, which is the I call it the good for the goose, good for the gander argument, which is I'll say, okay, look, I was in the blackout zone during the Great American Eclipse last year. And if you believe mainstream, it's a 2,000-mile wide moon that condenses down to a 70-mile wide shadow, right? Something we never see in real life down here on the world. And you never see somebody walk by a wall and his shadow is shrunken down to the size of an action figure. You never ever see it. And they said, well, with optics and atmosphere and different filters, you can condense it down. I'm going, okay, fine. If you're going to go that way, if you're going to go that way, then I will say, all right, well, then take the Earth, for example. The Earth is 8,000 miles wide. The Earth passes in front of the sun. Then the blackout zone, if you scale that up, let's say it's 4 times bigger. The blackout zone should be 280 miles wide. That's pretty big, especially against an object like the moon, which is only 2,000 miles wide. Basically, you should see a blood moon with a big black dot in the middle of it. It basically should look like a bloodshot eye. You know, you should see that every once in a while. You should see that blackout zone. And we do not. We only see, you know, the moon goes red, or you see the waxing and waning crescents and all that. Where the heck is that small black dot? No one ever talks about it. The fourth one, of course, is the moon temperature, which I love to death because I didn't come up with it. Rob Skiba was the first one to really explore it. There was, in fact, I remember, again, I was open-minded. Somebody called in on my show at the end of 2015. And he said, and he was telling me about the moon temperature, and my co-host and I were just laughing at him. It's going, whatever, come on, man, that can't be real. And then all of a sudden we started spreading this around, and I remember Rob Skiba calling me up going, dude, it's totally real. I'm going, what are you talking about? He's got a 13-degree swing. He goes, there's no way. And by that, if you guys haven't heard by now, if you've been living underneath a rock or underneath the moon in this case, the moon, everyone knows, and I'm not going to convert it for you, Roxanne, Celsius to Fahrenheit. The moon, the sun, it's 90 degrees in the sun, it's 80 degrees in the shade. Everybody knows that. So the shade blocks some of the radiation. But when you go into the moon light is 50 degrees, but the moon shade is warmer, upwards of past 60 degrees. That shouldn't be. It should be at the very most neutral. And I didn't even know it was a thing. I've learned more about science in the last 3 years on my own than I think I have ever at university. And so, but the thing is, we can duplicate this now. It's a technology we have available. It's called a cold laser. So why is the moon generating a cold laser light? And if it is, does this prove a flat Earth? No. Does it absolutely put into question the relationship between the sun and the moon? Oh yeah, you bet it does. You just throw that up. Plus the moon is way too bright. Sorry, the full moon is way too bright. Go out there when your eyes are adjusted and look at the moon. It's and you're saying, what do you mean it's way too bright? I go, look at the Apollo landing footage and then look at the moon. It should be glowing at all times, and it's not. There's this dull gray ashen thing. And then the last one, of course, that I bring up, it's my favorite trap question, and I will take credit for it, which is the Van Allen trap, which is, okay, simple question, Van Allen belts, deadly. Yes or no answer. That's it. Yes or no. Are they deadly? Yes or no. If they say yes, they're deadly, I go, good. Then how did Apollo go round trip back and forth all those times? Nobody died. Nobody got cancer. Nobody got radiation poisoning. And if they say no, then it loops back on itself. You say, okay, fine. Go look up Orion trial by fire on the website and tell me why NASA says, it's a NASA video. Tell me why NASA says, oh yeah, super deadly. We haven't figured it out yet. It's like, what do you mean you haven't figured out? Who's made this? It was a slick production, won a local Emmy Award, that little production with that kid on there. Anyway, so those are the 5 points that I usually, because science people, they want to hear something. It's like, oh, it's just speculation and all is different. You know, you're just throwing stuff out there and going, no, come at me with these. Tell me how these don't work. So
that brings me to the next bit I wanted to talk about, because you've got a documentary coming out called Behind the Curve, and I really want to find out from people what their opinions are on the best way to expose those space agencies. I know that you went somewhere through that documentary. I did.
Patricia and I did a little flat smacking down at NASA, down at the Houston Space Center in Texas, in the United States. The movie itself was done by an independent film company out of Los Angeles. They contacted me and several of the other people in the States. So they contacted Bob from Globebusters and Nathan Thompson and Patricia and Jaron and Chris Pontius. And, you know, they followed us around for the better part of a year, all of 2017. And then it culminated at the 2017 conference in Raleigh last year. And I got a chance to see it. They invited me up to the world premiere up in Toronto a couple months ago. And since then, it's now in, I think, 8 festivals, Toronto, Calgary, Melbourne, Sydney, Denver, either Mexico or Spain, because I don't know Spanish. I don't know what country that's actually from. And crap, there's 8 of them. Anyway, the but to be fair, it is and just to warn anybody out there, because I'm sure people have seen the trailer, to warn everybody, it is a mainstream movie. It shows both sides. Plain and simple. Yes, we make up at least 75% of the film, no question. But they do talk to an astronaut, 2 scientists, and a psychologist. You know, because you have to show both sides. If you do not show both sides, at least even a little bit, even a token bit, science will descend upon you, and they will make a rebuttal film and say, okay, flat Earth is stupid. Here's why. 2 hours, you know, of saying this. So the people, like, and it's funny, it's good you mentioned this, because it's going to be the US premieres in Los Angeles, down in Hollywood, Hollywood and Vine, I think, day after tomorrow. And there's going to be a lot of flat earthers. In fact, there's going to be activism in front of the theater going in with lab coats on top of it. And it's going to be great. If you have been in a flat earth more than 3 months, you will have a hard time with this movie, because every time a scientist goes up on screen, you want to burn the place down. You just want, it's like, when you see Scott Kelly say that line, I can't believe they got him, honestly, for the movie. But when you see him on screen saying, the first time I heard about flat Earth, I was in space. When you hear him say that line, you want to reach through and throttle the man. Yeah, because it's like, okay, that was the line they wanted to get out there. Here's your NASA guy. I'm sorry, ex-NASA guy who's quit NASA since he got out. So does it do the job? Yes. Does it plant the seed? Yes. Does it do some flat smacking? Absolutely. Is it a flat Earth cheerleading movie? No, it is not. Flat Earth, you're not going to hear flat Earthers cheer at the end of this. You're going to be going through it. Just remember what it is. It's planting the seed. It is the first of probably 5 that I know of that are being made. So we'll see what sort of traction. The reviews I've seen on it are pretty good, because they're fair. They give us most of the floor, but they do talk to scientists, and everything's cool. The part that tickled me, and I'm sorry if he's listening, was that they made sorry, phone call. They had no villain in this, because remember, the people that they had against us, like the scientists and the astronaut, they're very cordial. Couldn't be nice. And, not one of them said, oh yeah, flat earthers are just beyond retarded. They didn't say that. Who they made the villain was Matt Boylan, because they touched on the dissension in the ranks, which was, there seems to be a lot of infighting. And yes, of course, when the enthusiasm is that high, lots of people want to. It's like, this is how we should do it. No, this is how we should do it.
Just pick on, but why would they just pick on him?
Because no, I'll tell you why. Because every producer, say what you want about Matt, but he is interesting television. Period. I mean, the man, he goes through. He's like the Tasmanian devil. He's interesting. He's interesting to watch.
I like Matt. Yeah.
And because of that, every producer that I've talked to, literally just about everyone, has said the same thing. It's like, oh yeah, Matt Boylan. What do you think about talking to him? I say, look, I go try to talk to him. I don't think he's going to be able to work with you, but do give it a shot. And so there was this point. Again, I feel bad because he hasn't seen it yet, and if he does, it's fine. Which is, they got to a point where, because they were using just his clips, they used a lot of his clips from YouTube. He was never interviewed in this thing. They never actually shot him face to face. And they get to the point where he's just yelling at the screen, and the screen goes black, and there's this text on the screen, and it says, for his role in the film, Matt wanted $5,000 upfront, 25% of the gross profit, 50% guaranteed screen time, and the agreement, something to the effect that Mark Sargent would be condemned in the movie. It's like, what? You're going to throw that in after all that other stuff? And then they said, we declined, Matt Boylan's offer. And so they didn't use him. And yeah, I mean, look, it's not the first time I've heard this from producers. He does this, where he just makes, all these wild demands. Like, dude, come on. We're not there yet. So
yeah, well, that's either here or there. But our main thing is, like, what do you think? Like, what was your main objective with this? Like, I mean, was it something that, did you have an objective in putting?
No. In fact, I didn't have, believe me, I had no say in any of, I was there for 75% of the shooting. No question. I mean, I was there in California and Oregon and Raleigh and Texas when we shot in different locations, but it was their film. I don't have a dime wrapped up in this thing. So, and now if I had been made a producer, you know, if I want to jump on that bandwagon, we could have argued over objectives and stuff. But you know what? I'm a believer. It was like they wanted to cover it in a way where it wasn't nuts and bolts. It's like, okay, here's the general premise of flat Earth. But honestly, you know, we could talk 6-8 hours. You can make an 8-hour mini series on this thing and not even scratch the surface and how many different topics you can cover when it comes to flat Earth. So they said, you know, we're just going to cover the people. And their point was, flat earthers, here's some of them. They're just like you and me. And they painted us in a very, very soft light, which was, you know, nobody came off as crazy. I came off as a lovable dork. Patricia came off as even a softer version of Patricia. Everybody else came off really, really good. But you have to have an antagonist in the movie. You know, you've got to have some drama. So it's like, you know what? Matt Boylan. He's the obvious choice because all he does is scream at the camera most of the time. You know, he's making threats all day long. And the Dissension, I used a line, and I'm so glad they used it, even though it kind of dates me. And that was the Monty Python Life of Brian reference, which was, if you remember Monty Python Life of Brian, where he's running away, he's mistaken for the Christ, and he's running away, and he drops his shoe, and he keeps going, and they all stop when they see the shoe, and it's like, what does it mean? What does the shoe mean? And I referred this to kind of like flat Earth, because flat Earth is this raw ball of enthusiasm, and everybody's got their idea. It's like, what should we do with this enthusiasm? You know, let's do, and nobody's wrong, but everybody wants, it's like, we should all, you know, we should do nothing but street activism. We should burn NASA to the ground. We should make nothing but YouTube videos. We should make nothing but media. And that's what my point was. It was that everybody's got, you know, it's at the end of the day, everybody still hates the globe, which is great, which is fantastic, which is why we have, and I'm not kidding, if any media ever watches this, and I've said it many times, we have a 99% retention rate. And so anybody out there that's going against this, you got to remember that fact, which is very, very few people ever, you know, yeah, fine, they may not make YouTube videos anymore, or they may not do this, but once you've gone into the flat Earth realm, you never go back to the globe, ever.
Mark, absolutely. I've never seen no one go from, I never met anybody who, or even know of anybody who went from flat Earth back to the globe.
Oh yeah. Compare those numbers to anything. Scientology, a major religion, Alcoholics Anonymous. Take your pick. We blow them all out of the water. Nobody's got the retention rate that we do. And when you've got that sort of rate, that's when science should get nervous, which is why during my speech, I'm going, look, this is your last chance to make some sort of defense against us, unless you're going to let mainstream do it.
Absolutely, Mark. Roxanne has a couple of interesting questions for you about the documentary.
Yeah. I wanted to know how difficult it was to film in the facility which you were in. That was a space facility. Where did you say it was that you were filming? Was it the Johnson
Space Center? Oh, actually, believe it or not,
is that NASA? Is it NASA, right?
Yeah, we were at NASA. We were at NASA, out at Houston. It actually worked out really, really well, because just before we were there was a really bad torrential rainstorm, which flooded big chunks of the city. So the tourism was actually way down. So when we got there, and we were doing kind of guerrilla filmmaking, because initially they said, oh yeah, we'll charge you $5,000 to shoot. And the team was like, yeah, we'll just see what we can do. Let's see if we can just walk in. And we did. We just walked in. And it was interesting shooting there because it was so dated, meaning everything felt like it was all like an old amusement park that had been around for decades. Everything was really worn. Things didn't work. It was like a third grade amusement park, which nobody had been to in a long, long time. And so when we got to the part where we were actually at the only surviving Apollo rocket, the kind of this big aircraft hangar thing that was out off the site, there was nobody there. It was just us, the camera team and Patricia and I walking around it. And it was surreal because it almost, I mean, you got to remember that the Apollo thing that I was looking at, there's classic cars that were newer than this thing. And everything felt really, really dated. And that's how it was a great vibe, because that's when you realize it's like, yeah, they've been milking this for a long time and nobody questioned it until now. It's just like, oh yeah, that capsule looks terrible. That moon buggy looks ridiculous. This rocket, yeah, it looks like a military rocket. Doesn't look like you sent a whole bunch of people on it, you know, round trips with no problems. But we didn't get any hassle. In fact, the only hassle we got was that the Houston didn't allow, of all the things, they don't allow selfie sticks. So, and you're thinking, why would they not allow selfie sticks? Because apparently people, when they're walking around with selfie sticks, they trip over things and just bump into people all the time. So they just decide we're going to ban them because it's dark in there. It's not a well-lit place for obvious.
It's on a health and safety.
Yeah, it's a health and safety thing. Yeah.
Health and safety everywhere.
Yeah, but I mean, it feels, I'm not kidding you. If anyone gets a chance to go, if you're out there in Houston, when you go there, it even smells like an old amusement park. You know, all they need is a cotton candy machine, but they have like a yogurt machine and literal regular candy machines.
It's like Hollywood.
Yeah, and there's endorsements everywhere. In fact, there's even, just to give you the blend between science fiction and science, they even have one of the Star Trek Next Gen shuttles there. You know, like the old shuttles, they used to go out of the shuttle bay in Star Trek Next Generation. But because they were so cheap, they didn't even pay for the logo. Paramount, they couldn't agree to it. So there's no NC, you know, there's no Starfleet logo on it. It's just this, you know, you can't even go in it. It's just this wood, this giant life-size wood shuttle that's sitting there, and they can't even make references to the Star Trek thing. It just floors me. Yeah. So
right now, right about this time, Roxanne goes into Mark gives a shout out to the chat room and everything like that. And go ahead, Roxanne, do your thing.
Yeah, thank you. I wanna give massive shouts out to everybody that's taken the time to tune into us so far. There's loads of people in the chat room. I want to say hi to Eco Dave Media. I also want to say hi to Glowbusters. Thank you very much for tuning in. Bling Bling of the ISS. Thank you, my darling, for being here. Richie B FE, Amarok, Amanda FE. Thank you so much for tuning in. Spherical Cow, thank you for tuning in. Mikey Smith, Concerned Citizen, Steve Fowler, Nigel Bennett. There's so many people in the chat room. I'm not quite sure how to put slow mode on at this time. So please bear with me. I will try and keep up with the chat room, but it breaks the dynamic of the conversation. So massive love to you all for being here. Big respect to the mods for holding it down. You're doing,
and Roxanne, and they are holding it down. Shout out to the moderators holding it down. You know what I mean? You know, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Massive love back to Cami as well, Bob. Big hugs to Cami. Thank you, my darling.
I can't wait to talk to you.
Yeah, big time. And Dirth, thank you so much for tuning in.
Nice, David.
Yeah, David's great. I'm still not stopped with picking your brain. I only had a
no, that's fine. That's fine.
Carry on. And yeah, massive love to everybody. No one's flower as well. Thank you for being here. I'm going to try and get back into the chat room, and if anyone's got any questions, just pop them in capital letters and I'll get back to the chat room. And
just so you know, I because I've been so intently trying to answer your questions that I just got into chat just now and I realized I don't have a wrench.
Oh yes.
Somebody give me a wrench.
Yes.
Yep, you're
gonna I'll drop some wrenches.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Say no more.
I'm on it.
Say no more. How's the weather up there? Where you at, Mark?
It is cloudy at the moment, but that's fine. You got to remember it's September up in Seattle, Washington, and it's nice. I don't mind. I don't mind at all. I grew up here. I was born here. I was born up in Seattle on an island just north of it called Whidbey, WHIDBEY island. In fact, it's really, really close to Vancouver, Canada. So like the university that I went to was only, I think, like 15 minutes from the border type stuff. Yeah.
So, you're close by D Marble. He's up there.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I've done like 5 different meetups, I think, with D Marble. He's a lot of fun. I love D Marble. We've done
good brother.
All around the Seattle area. We just did one fairly recently up in Lake Stevens, and he's great. I can't wait to see him in Denver.
Good brother. Flat Earth. Shout out to D Marble as well. Yeah. Also, is anybody in the chat room have any questions? Put them in capital letters for Roxanne, for Mark. Also as well, like kind of people.
Vancouver is now an island of China. That's what I'm reading in chat. Vancouver is now an island of China. No, you're thinking of no, it's not island of China. No, anyway, sorry, Roxanne. What else you got?
Something else in the chat room as well, so I can find you and wrench you up. I've got questions. I'm afraid.
Did you wrench him up?
I'm just gonna wait for him to pop something in the chat room so I can find
doing that right now.
So quickly, I can't find him anywhere. And
see me? I'm all caps because I'm loud. Caps is cruise control for cool.
Let me see.
Yeah, absolutely.
While I get on with that, what I want to know is your opinions on Moreland towards the north.
Yeah. I loved, and I think it was, I can't remember if it was Chris and Shri Geo who run TFR. They were the first ones to break that. But the that story of that 1,000-year-old map, where I don't know if you see me use it in different slides, where you have the AE map in the center, surrounded by 2 rings, and then these continents all equally, around the outside that look like they could each be the size of Africa. I love that concept because why not? And I love the fact that none of them are connected to each other, because no land bridges that we have here. I mean, remember, most of this world is land bridged in one way or the other, especially Europe and Asia. And then, everything from Canada all the way down to South America is also part of those bridges. But I love the concept of more lands. Love it. Why wouldn't we? I see it goes along with the whole older civilization thing. And I think in a broader sense, I think that every civilization has a limited time to run their course and develop whatever it is. And then when they're done, it's no different than school, right? You're seniors now. Sorry, you don't have to, you got to get out of here because we got another class coming in. And then you get to go off and I think there's protocols as well, which is they can't interact directly with whatever civilization is trying to build up because they influence them too much. And that's straight out of Star Trek Prime Directive, which is what was the second movie they made. And that was, they accidentally, flew their ship over them, and those guys just threw out their Bible right away. I was like, there's the new religion right there. The space people.
Exactly.
So, anyway, so yeah, I love it. Love new lands. Or more lands.
And another thing which is also helping me to connect the dots as well. I'm quite interested in the whole QAnon scenario, and I've been following it since last October actually. And I wanted to get your opinion, if you have an opinion on the whole QAnon. What's your take on it?
My initial opinion on QAnon is that. And there's 2 things. One, of course, I appreciate that they delved into the flat Earth, at least briefly. Was it last year? I think they got into it. But when they got into it, it didn't surprise me, because by that time you had some big players that had already been there. I mean, you got to remember, at the Raleigh conference, we had ABC News, we had BuzzFeed, we had Howard Stern, BBC, French media, Spanish media, German television, not to mention the documentary teams. So by the time QAnon got into it, I think they were just following everybody else, where it's like, well, it seems like a hot thing. You're popular when PewDiePie, the biggest channel in the YouTube world, even though a lot of it isn't legit, that's a whole other story for another time. He makes 2 videos, right, and puts yet another horrible picture of me on one of his thumbs. So QAnon getting into that was great. Now QAnon recently getting into the whole sex trafficking thing and the elaborate intrigue. Look, I've heard these stories ever since the conspiracy world got rolling on the internet, which is, of course, anybody that's in positions of power, they're into sex trafficking, they're into blood rituals, they're into wholesale, buying and selling of babies, and so on and so on. Is it real? I don't know, maybe. But then again, sex trafficking, and I'm not trying to belittle it, sex trafficking, it's bad, right? I watched Taken and Taken 2, and you know, it's a bad thing. But it's also nothing. It's not new. Don't think of it as like this brand new thing on the scene. It's been happening since forever. I mean, even before the Romans made it profitable. You know, it's been a, you know, I don't want to get into it too much, but it is. And for me also, I'm sorry, for me, I'm flat Earth 24/7. You know, flat Earth for me, it's like the creator, flat Earth, everything else. And so, and not to belittle it, like, look, you know, Sandy Hook, Boston bombing, 9/11, JFK, Pearl Harbor, every American war, so on and so on.
Mark, it's funny that you say that, because I tell people that all the time. People say, hey, you know, check this out. I'm like, yo, it's important. I get it, but I'm stay focused on flat Earth, because it's the, you know, to me, it's the biggest lie ever, you know.
I told that to I'm name drop here, to National Geographic, and that segment's going to be running here in another couple weeks, I would think. National Geographic did a thing when we went out to that test, that California test, when we had a skeptics group. They were doing a long distance photography test, and they asked me some of those questions. Like, you know, we're talking to people
they reached out to you.
What?
They reached out to you, or you?
Yeah. They did, and they did it because of the documentary. They had contacted me, and I did not want to do it. I did not want to go out to this test out there. And they said, we want you to come out to the test. We'll pay for you to come out. It's like, all right, fine. I'll go out. I'm going to hate it, just so you know. And I did. I hated it. It was horrible. But they asked me some really, really good questions. And one of them was, what we hear people talking about all sorts of different stuff, you know, whether it's JFK or 9/11 or Sandy Hook, or take your pick. And I said, look, and they said, what's your take on it? You know, what do you think? And I go, look, all I can do is lead by example the best I can. You know, set a good example. I go. Those things are second tier. They're second shelf on the bar. For me, it's flat Earth is always going to be above that. I go, but you got to remember what the pool we're drawing from here. Lots of people, the conspiracy people, are the ones that jump into this first. So of course they're going to have opinions on it, and some of them are going to be their favorites. I still run into people that say that 9/11 is the biggest conspiracy of all time, and they're digging, which is why they hate flat Earth. Because they say 9/11, that's the pinnacle of conspiracies. I'm going, yeah, it's not very big. That's just a few planes, whether they're real or not. You know, and you know, flat Earth seems to be a bit bigger than that. No, it can't be bigger. It can't be real. So for me, I will toe the line. I will toe the flat Earth line, and until something bigger than flat Earth comes along, yeah, nothing's going to distract me at this point.
Wow.
Interesting.
Wow.
Interesting. So, go ahead, Roxanne. No, here's a question I want to ask you. Okay.
Yes.
One day, we don't know what day that is, because, you know, supposedly people don't believe it's true unless they see it on TV. They wake up, they decide, let's roll this out. You know, the Earth is flat. What next? What next? People waking up seeing in the front page, in the news, the Earth is flat.
I still firmly believe, well, a couple things might happen. You know, they've been pushing kind of the virtual reality thing, the simulated world, which of course is a whole nother level. And I even try to deflect off of that because I have seen scientists recently, Neil deGrasse Tyson, Elon Musk. He's not a scientist. I don't even want to get into Elon. That's a whole other show. But they've been going into virtual reality. And I say, look, I go, virtual reality or not, it still has a shape. So it's not a globe. I don't care if it's the Matrix or the 13th floor necessarily. That's a different level to this. I go, even the Matrix had a shape, and it was probably flat, because there was no any developer will tell you the flat world is way easier to build. In fact, the developers and the computer science guys should be the ones that are jumping into it next, saying, yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, look, I was in the development world. I know all these simulations, and everybody made a flat world because it's easier. Because people are, you know, I hate to use the I Ching or Art of War thing, which is people are like water, but they always take the laziest way out if they can. It's like, look, if nobody's going to notice that I make the world flat, then make the world flat. That's the way to do it. As far as you know, what happens, you know, tomorrow when this day comes, like you're saying, what happens there? I still believe in the 100th monkey effect, which is a debatable premise, but I love it. I love the concept. If you guys haven't looked up the 100th monkey effect, you got to look at it, because it's a fascinating premise, but it makes sense. Again, even if you plug in the simulated world, which is if you have enough things that happen to a particular demographic, the system updates. I call it the system. The system updates to everybody. So all of a sudden, all the monkeys simultaneously go, oh yeah, that washing the potato thing, that's a great idea, even though they're not connected. And there's no way all the monkeys could know that unless there's some there's some invisible tethers here, some things that are happening behind the scenes that we just don't have the visual spectrum to. So do I think that could happen? Yes, I do. I mean, we're running into this more and more and more. People on the street. I'm sure you.
No. I know. I get what you're saying. I'm talking about. I want you to understand the question I just asked you, boss.
What?
I'm talking about. Look, it came out. It's flat. Okay. I'm talking about. We got to draw up a new Declaration of Independence.
Oh, you mean what? You mean what happens if it?
I'm talking about removing people from power. I mean, because that's not. I mean, think about it. I know sometimes people don't want to talk about it, but that's something that we need to talk about. I mean, because are we going to just get some official design of what this place is, or some official narrative story?
Well, okay. Here's the thing about that, and that's not the first time I've been asked this. I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question details. Here's the thing: you can't tell people something like this that's that big unless you have it tied to another project. You cannot do it. You cannot, the UN, you cannot have the secretary of the UN come out and say, oh yeah, by the way, because people are going to want, people will be shocked at first, but then there'll be the blowback. Then there'll be the repercussions. People are going, wait a minute, they'll be going, wow, that's amazing. And all of a sudden you get that look on their face. You've seen it in movies like, hey, wait a minute. What about all the things that NASA have been saying? You've got to let the space programs off the hook if you're going to do this. And the only way you can do that is with something bigger. And if that means, again, the realization of another species, which we haven't been told about, that would be the easiest way to let them off. You have some giant silvery ship land somewhere, and they come out. They got to be better looking than us. And they got to come out and say, oh, yeah, by the way, don't be too hard on the space programs. We told them to do it. And then everybody's off the hook, and then it's fine.
No. So what are they going to do to the people like us that we're not going to fall for that nonsense, right? We're not, we're not going to fall for it. We want to know, yes, they are going to be responsible for it. We want to hear more people to lock these people up, or they have to answer a lot of questions. I mean, what's your take on that?
Okay. My take on it is this.
Someone's going to answer this. You might as well.
We will be in an interesting position. Here's why, and which is why I've said, look, we're in the perfect place media-wise for some sort of revelation to happen. Because remember, now there's 7 billion people in the world, but there's like 6 billion smartphones. Right? This is ridiculous. So what that means? Okay, what does that mean? That means that you have the chance to get everybody on the same page in the span of about 30 minutes. You can, everybody gets tweeted, everybody gets, whatever their favorite outlet is, everybody gets the same story at the same time. Yes, will it be, people like us that say, hey, wait a minute. Yeah, probably. But remember, the old album cover, Music for the Masses, which is, if the masses figure, whatever the masses are told, that's going to be the dialect. Now, we, of course, can be whispering in their ears or yelling. The thing is, we've got so many more people. You're saying, well, what about the people like us? The thing is, there's so many people like us now. Huge amounts. I mean, there are millions of us. The Russia study alone. So what happens in that case? I don't know. We're in uncharted territory. But the Russia study alone, where if you saw RT did there when they asked if people believed the Earth was flat, and they said that something to the effect of, I think it was 3% admitted, and that was just the people that admitted, not the ones that like, oh, I'm not going to tell this guy. The 3% that admitted, that's 4 million people in Russia alone, right? And remember, every percentage point in the United States is almost 3.5 million people, and there's a lot of us out there, and we've got big followings in Asia. UK, Europe, we're everywhere. So I'm your question is like, okay, what happens to the people like us? That's just it. I don't know, because there's so many of us that, the story, of course, whatever story they give us, we'll be like, yeah, okay. But at the same time, it's like, all we'll be really doing is analyzing whoever it is that shows up. We'll be analyzing it. And yeah, we'll be all over social media saying, okay, maybe you can believe these guys, maybe you can't. So there will be sort of a democratic response to it. Honestly, I don't know more than that.
Well, yeah,
so, we're not there. I mean, part of this is, remember, this is uncharted territory for our civilization.
Yes.
So I'm hoping that, again, that we don't turn to burn, and I don't think it'll happen because we haven't seen it yet, where we the pitchforks and torches, and it's like, go to the libraries, grab all the books, start burning it all down. I don't think that'll happen. I don't. I think we everybody in the community, it's a really, flat earth is such a positive thing. It's such a great message. And there's all the songs that, I mean, the media, like National Geographic says, what happens, civilization as we know it, could this be the end of democracy? And I'm going, look, I've got a track list that's got almost 300 songs long, and they're all happy. I go, so if that's any indication, find me a happy song about 9/11. Find me a happy folk song about JFK. They don't exist. Flat earth inspires people to go down a road with so much enthusiasm that they start up YouTube channels for the very first time, to go on the streets and talk to people, to go out and make music. Almost all of it is positive, and that I really love. I don't think there's a real downside to this yet.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of flat earthers that are your fans out there that really appreciate what you do for the community. Because like you, me and Roxanne, we decided to devote give up our life to spread the truth. And
I hear you.
And demand.
I couldn't go back to my normal life even if I wanted to at this point. How could I? I mean, it's this thing is, in fact, people will say, oh, you're out there, you're directing traffic, you're leading people. Going, no. I may be in the front car of the roller coaster, but I didn't make the track, right? I'm on the ride the same as you guys. I'm just like, okay, where are we going now? Oh, down, apparently. You don't know. It has been, for me, it has been completely unsolicited, and I'm, again, just humbled to be a part of it.
Absolutely. You know what? Well said. Well said. Now, the question that me and Roxanne would answer, I actually would answer this, but me and Roxanne have been talking about this all day. A lot of flat earthers, globe deniers, truthers out there. This is really on the top of people's minds, is this censorship, man. Hardcore. Last night we had Robbie Davison, DRTRH, and Matt Long, shout out to them, on. And when we edited, it showed that we had 0 likes. And we know.
I'm also going to vouch for Bling Bling of the ISS as well. She sent me screenshots of beginning, middle, and end, where you can just see it was just.
And so what's my take on it?
Yeah.
It's interesting because I did watch the congressional thing. I mean, one, super flattered that we would actually have it would be brought up during a congressional hearing. Where, how can we stop this? Now, granted, they were generalizing a lot of the different conspiracy topics, but at the same time, because I'm a glass half full type of guy, the resistance I have seen has been token at best. Look, I come from the development world. I come from the tech world. If you wanted to shut us down, you could have done it at any time you wanted to. You didn't have to. There were a couple key things that I watched. First was the developer from Google who came out just recently, and he was asked. He said, "Well, how do things get recommended to us in the sidebar?" And he says, "Well," and out of all the topics he could bring up, he brought up flat Earth. He goes, "Well, if somebody watches 20 flat Earth videos in a row on average, what do you think we're going to recommend, to everybody?" Which meant that if you go down the flat Earth rabbit hole, like a lot of people, you just keep watching videos over and over and over and over. There's also, if you want to shut down that, you could take no code at all to say never recommend flat Earth or any combination of flat Earth to anyone ever. In the Google search, you could say never fill in the blanks, never do this. Now, that being said, I get conflicting messages. Like on one side, the adpocalypse happened, which happened last year, if you remember that, where they went after, they were trying to get sponsors back. And so they got rid of, people that were talking about shootings and domestic stuff. But at the same time, they left, flat Earth was left more or less unscathed. We lost about 10%, I think, of our numbers, but then our numbers kept going up. They tried to stat squish us twice. And then just recently, I think, was it like 5 weeks ago, maybe a little longer, they tore down the scoreboard. And for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about here, and this is Internet 101, when you go into any internet search engine, and whether it's YouTube or Google or Safari or whatever, and you type in a topic, potato salad, it'll say search results equals a number. And that for YouTube, it was there ever since YouTube was founded. And then literally right after I made a video saying that Flat Earth just eclipsed, we just passed Donald Trump in terms of popularity, 20.9 to 20.8 million. Literally right after that, the scoreboard was taken down. And I didn't even know. Somebody just told me about it. It's like, dude, the scoreboard's not there anymore. I'm going, what are you talking about? And you can go this now. You type in any topic into YouTube and all you get is results. You don't get the number. There's no, that line has been removed entirely. There was no software update. There was no interface layout change. They just removed it, you know, baby with the bathwater type thing. So
are you experiencing this in these
on my channel? It's hard to say. I mean, you can go out there and there's a, sorry, I'm losing my voice a little bit because I'm yelling. When you go out into the internet, there's a YouTube companion thing called Social Blade, if you've ever seen it, and you can check you can track the paths, the analytics of just about any channel, whether or not they show your analytics or not. You can track this, and everything I've seen from all the people that are out there, we can see who's buying subs, who's not. When things get canceled, when they don't. My channel has been, I saw initial growth and it keeps growing. Sure. I mean, all the big channels I've seen, they've done fairly well. Every once in a while, someone will come along and say they get hit, but overall the resistance has been token. Meaning if they wanted to, let's be honest here, guys. If they wanted to really crush us, it wouldn't take a lot of doing. And yeah, we'd whine and scream about it, but what are you going to do? And so, but they haven't. It's almost, well, I shouldn't say it's almost like, it feels so much that they're letting this out. They're like they say, like they know it's inevitable and they're trying to bend it in a certain direction if they can, trying to, like a boat that's pulling in a port, like pulling really, really hard to trying to go to a certain direction. And timing seems to be important. In fact, I kind of treat it, the analogy I used recently was forest fire, where in forest fires, if you've ever seen them, I know you don't have them out there much, but we have them here, where you butt up against them in some places, in other places you'll just let it run. And that's what it kind of feels like. Okay, they're resisting here, but they're not resisting here. The mainstream media, yes, we have we have saturated just about everything in the lower tiers of social media. We all know that. We're all over the internet. We're all over in just about every network you can think of, except for television programs, movies, and primetime news stories. So like we've yet to see anything on CNN or ABC or NBC or CBS or Fox. We have yet to see him do a primetime story. I have not seen Anderson Cooper talk about flat Earth yet. So it's that they're hiding. It's obvious that they're hiding it. Yeah, it's so obvious. Are they hiding it? Are they hiding it? Are they just kind of leaning against it until they figured out? It's like, okay, now we can let off. I don't know. These guys do everything for money. Think about it, Mark. They do. I do. The government lied about everything. We live on a flat plane realm of existence. NASA lied about everything. That would be a block seller. That would be sold out. That would be the number one. And it's I know. No one never did that. I know. And who knows? Maybe it just, gotta remember, I know everyone in our community is impatient because we think 3 years is forever. It is amazing how far, honest to God, we've become so media spoiled. I remember at the end of 2015 when the first Forbes article mentioned us when Kent Hovind got out of prison, and I was going, hey, look at that, we got into Forbes. And now if I don't see anything for like 2 days, I'll be like, okay, what's happening here? Where's our stories? So, but yeah, there is some sort of gold rush that everyone's waiting for. I have listened to the producers. They're all kind of doing that whole don't want to be the first person on the dance floor, because remember, in fact, I watched a producer get just canned outright at the end of beginning of 2016, because she brought it up and we weren't there yet. And she brought it up to her, she's like, yeah, flat Earth reality show, totally can do it. And they go, you're insane. Get out of here. You're done. But now everybody knows, because do you want to be, you know the headlines, right? It's like, the Flat Earth show. Is this the end of television as we know it, or is it genius? Because it's so polarizing. That's why I keep telling people, I'm going, look, just look at the comment sections. Nobody's on the fence of flat Earth. You either are in or you're out. Nobody says, I don't know. It doesn't really do anything for me. It's like everyone's like, yeah, flat Earth or flat, or you've seen the sides. I mean, I've never seen a topic, and I don't care what topic it is, whether it's gay rights or black rights or Jewish rights or whatever it is. Nothing, or abortion. Take your pick. Nothing generates the vitriol, the where people, the knee-jerk reactions. You guys seen it, every time you go out there. People flip out. And now again, but they're not mad at you.
Right. I got
they're not. Yeah, they're not mad at you though. They're and which is why we're somewhat insulated. They're mad at the idea. That's why I don't get hate mail. I don't get weird phone calls in the middle of the night, saying, you suck, I'm going to kill you. With the exception of the one guy from Britain that said he was going to stab me with a 24-centimeter knife. And I didn't know, I couldn't do the math. It's like, what's that? Is that, how many inches is that? So because I didn't know if that was big or not. I didn't know what 24 centimeters was. And then he apologized later. On top of that, he's like, oh, I'm sorry. I was doing the glass. I was on the glass. I didn't know what the glass meant. I thought it was crack. And then he wrote me back and said, no. I was on a 6-day meth bender. And it's like, oh, okay. That's fine. He goes, but either way, I'm sorry. It's like, okay, cool.
Wow. Yeah, not crack, man. We're talking about fucking what the.
Yeah, wow. Look, I don't know much about drugs, but either way, it was interesting. But that's the only. Everybody else, has been really, really kind. Again, you can't go after the messenger. You can only go after the message. That's what everyone's mad about, because it's the concept that drives them insane.
Mm-hmm. So, what kind of questions that that me Roxanne like to ask, and actually this a follow-up question after this is, what motivates you every day to actually do this? What inspires you? What's
the interaction I have with with everybody I've dealt with so far that keeps me going. Like, after this, I don't know how many emails I'll have. I can never get through all my emails, for example. I'm sorry, say it again.
Yeah, why does it matter to you so much?
You mean, why does flat Earth matter?
Why does the truth matter to you so much?
Because I'd rather, somebody here be an answer for you. People ask me, the National Geographic guy said, are you doing this for fame? You want to be famous? I go, I don't want to be famous. I want to be right. There's a big difference there. I go, if you're wrong and you're famous, good luck sleeping at night. You're gonna, eventually you're gonna get caught. You're gonna get, found out as the fraud. That's what everyone in the entertainment industry is like. I'll be found out as a fraud. Nobody thinks. But if it's the truth, I mean, look, the reason why it matters to me is I think that our civilization we have a lot of potential. We deserve to be better. The world deserves to be better. And this is the only thing I can think of. The only thing that's ever come in front of me that had the potential to make that a reality. And I could see it. It's like some people saying, and yes, of course, the potential for an apocalypse, of course, there's always that potential, and you could steer it that way if you wanted to. But I see it as the beginning of a new golden age. Whereas everybody, I said this in the clues. Do you commit hate crimes? Do you commit sex crimes? Do you go to war? If you are all in the same boat, if you're under the same roof, if you're literally part of the same family, not to use the "We Are Family" song that's been played out, but if you're all that, then isn't that a great thing? What do we got to lose at this point? Because they asked me, it's like, wouldn't science take a step backward? What about technology? What about medicine? I'm going, look, there's going to be some pain involved here, but in the end, we will be better for it. You're gonna have to take the hit, but isn't it worth the risk? Isn't that worth it? And that's what, that's what it means.
And you know what, Mark, speaking of pain and speaking of risk, the main reason why that what brought us all here together right now, is something that I want to talk to you about and bring you a part of what we're doing. I'm sure you know about the UK Glow Black Tour.
I do.
Jason is doing. It's in the media in the UK. Right now, it hasn't been in the media yet in the United States, but soon it's going to be big. The snowball has rolled.
Cool.
And this, I want you to know something. If you didn't know this, is that Harry's been awoken to the truth, for about over 5 years. Okay. And he going on, before this tour, he would take tents and go from different places to try to wake people up about this. And if you meet him and talk to him, you know, you would want to give him a hug, man. He's so humble and so nice. And you know what I mean? And him and Jason, they left their families for 8 weeks, left their jobs. They're not making no money. You know, we set up a GoFundMe place. We got some donations to get the RV camper just to start this, just to go spread the truth, and go do street activisms across from UK to all over the UK, from across the UK.
Ireland, Wales, England, about 8 weeks, over 50 locations.
Wow.
Hundreds of bread pills getting dropped daily. Leaflet, banners. The camper van has got like almost 4-foot stickers on it saying research flat earth. You've been told lies. Front, back, side, on the side panels.
It's probably the most photographed thing around. You know what I mean? And exactly. So we want to bring you we want to bring you a part of this. And my thing is, hey, if someone's going to donate for something, this is what to donate. You know what I mean? And it's all about unity, coming together under this one thing. And let me tell you something. Jason had to leave off tour to go because his mother is on her deathbed, man.
Oh, wow.
Right. Now they broke an axle or some type of drive shaft on the camper. So it's in the garage now.
Oh, no.
So we have a lot of things talking about pain and sacrifices. These guys are going through everything. And, and I want to ask you in front of everybody, man, I want to put a Flat Earth Google, Flat Earth Clues banner. But, I'm going to ask, my mom always said, if I never ask, I'm never going to get. I want to ask you, for $1,000 donation, to the UK. We'll always promote your channel, everything you do. Get us a banner. We'll put it on the truck.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. Let me work on that. I will.
Take it. Take your time. All the links are in the description. We'll actually get you to meet Harry and Jason. Okay, get a part what they're doing exactly, because when after they're done over there, they're going to come over here to the UK. So we want to spark that going on here. Yes, it's getting that serious. You know what I mean? Because they could pull the plug on technology any day. We're going to literally have to get out and go door to door with this. So we're actually training people how to do street activism and say it's okay. No one hits you over the head. It's okay to tell people that they don't live on a spinning ball of water hurling through space at ridiculous speeds around the sun. That's supposed to be 93 million miles away. It's not the truth. You know what I mean? We're we're the enemy of the state. Only thing we're saying is flat and motionless, just like it appears to be. So we when we was thinking about that, we was like, we know you dedicate your life to this, and I want you to be a part of this. You know what I mean? And, and I said, hey, it don't have to be 1,000. I said, if you start high, anything will help. Also, we need a mechanic, man. If you have any contacts out there in the UK that can get a mechanic, they need a generator for power so they can do
a commercial mechanic. I have to admit, it has to be a mechanic that can work on commercial vehicles.
Right. We need something. This is an SOS to all the flat earthers in the world. We need everybody's support and stand behind this. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? And this is why that we're doing this. And I want to say thank you. For me and Roxanne, I want to say thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule. Coming on the show, being tough, and you're answering some tough questions. You know what I mean? And telling us a little more about you. A lot of people in the UK is tuned into this, and people from all over the world. So
cool.
I appreciate it. So all the link is in the description. If you get us a banner, I'll send you Roxanne's link, contact. We get a Flat Earth Clues banner, whatever. I love Mark Sargent, whatever you want, boss. You know what I mean? We'll put it on there. And I want to set the tempo for everybody else. So trust me, everybody else, we're going to hit them up to and see what they could do. And me and Roxanne has been given that task to make sure everybody see what's going on. And like I said, when I heard this story more, I was like, this is it. This is what's going to bring the flat earthers together. You understand what I'm saying? We're all going to have disagreements. Well, there's nobody more skeptic than flat earthers. You understand what I mean?
Yep.
But this is going to bring everyone together, and I feel this, man. And thank you.
Hey, my pleasure. Thank you, guys, for having me on. It was an honor.
Absolutely. And like I said, you know, we're gonna, you know, we'll every time, like we're doing with we got a donation from the RTRH, and we're gonna put his link on every show that we do in the description. He's sending us a banner. It's going on a truck, and we're gonna make that the thing to do. We'll get pictures, something that you could use content on your channels, something that you talk about. Let's get this word out there, Mark.
Okay.
We need your help. This is an SOS. So in front of you in the world, we're sending an SOS to you and everybody.
All right.
Appreciate it. Absolutely.
Well, I don't know what I can say that Richie hasn't already said. As I said, Harry and Jason, when he can get back, we'll be going to, well, probably about 40 odd locations now, because a few locations have been done. Sure. Trying to cause a wave with the media. We've sent press packs out to most of the media places that we're hitting on the way up there. Ireland, Scotland, England, and regardless, we just want to keep it going. We've started, so we shall finish one way or the other.
And everything, Mark, everything is transparent, right? These guys are maxed out on their credit cards. They're using their own money just to eat. They're not even using. This is no joke. And you'll be up to date with everything. You'll see everything. This is a big thing, man. This is what it is, Mark.
All right.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. And like I said, I appreciate you coming on the show. I appreciate everybody in the chat room for tuning in. Anything that you did we get any questions from the chat room, Roxanne?
We pretty much covered it. I haven't seen any.
Awesome. Is there anything that you want to say, Mark, or anything?
The only thing other than that is for at least the people in the States, check out, if you don't know already, look into the conference in 2018, Denver. Go to fe2018.com.
Okay.
I will be there along with a lot of our guys, and it should be a lot of fun.
Awesome. Keep us up. And for those out there that want to keep the update on the tour that's clued into Facebook, make sure you like Flat Earth News and Reports. Like that page, because that's where all the updates are on about the tour and what's going on.
Okay.
And before we wrap this up, the last thing I want to say is the question that me and Richard normally like to ask everybody. It's a bit that way and that way. Can you please tell us something that we don't know?
Yes.
Something that you don't know.
That's what we ask all our guests.
Something I haven't told anybody on anything?
Yep,
something you don't know.
Whatever you want.
Yeah, Spider-Man underwear. I mean, whatever.
Spider-Man underwear. My greatest something you don't know. Okay, I got something. It's something I don't talk about a lot, but it would be my first love before games and simulations and flat Earth and everything. Before all that was fireworks, and I used to do fireworks for shows that people used to pay me to do it for a long time, and then I did it. I made them at university. and got myself in a whole bunch of trouble. Yeah, there you go. That's my little thing. Bit of a troublemaker sometimes.
Nice.
Roxanne, by the way, froze up.
Roxanne, did she froze up?
She froze up. I don't know if she even heard it.
Let's see what's I've
got a picture of her in glasses, kind of smirking at me. That's all I got.
That is kind of crazy right there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it should be right back on. Just give her a 1 second.
Okay.
That's awesome. Now, you mean while we give her a few seconds, what do you think you're going to bring to the do you have something in mind for the people that's going to the convention in Denver? Is it something different?
Yeah. Bring lab coats if you can. They're only like $15 on Amazon. Buy whatever you want out there. Long length, short length. They come in all sizes. And try to come out a day early and leave a day late, because it's really a lot of fun. I mean, it's a lot more than the speakers that are on there. It's more about community building, where everyone gets together. For a lot of these people that come to the conference, it's the first time they've been with other flat earthers, and that's a real cathartic experience. I've seen it in just about every meetup and everything I've been to. It's just fantastic being around. If you're afraid, about telling your friends and your family and your coworkers, this is a great opportunity. But also do the regional ones. Do regional meetups too. It's so easy to do. Just pick a restaurant or a bar.
Yes. So, and you know what? Thank you, Mark. Thank you for that, man. Thank you for doing that, because you do that for us. Marilyn always reach out to you.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You're always, you know what? You're always, and you never say no. You do it all the time, and I'm like, wow. You know what? I don't see nobody else doing that.
You don't necessarily have to. Look, I do. I have a lot of templates. You're very, very welcome. And I just have a lot of templates, so I can crank them out pretty fast. Sometimes, some days I'm busier than others, and sometimes like it's the last minute ones that bug me. It's like, oh yeah, I'm doing one, day after tomorrow. It's like, day after tomorrow? Who's even going to see this? It's like, fine, I'll do it anyway.
Absolutely.
Anyway, guys, it was a real pleasure. I will keep watching you, and we'll be in touch soon about everything else.
Absolutely. Roxanne, you ready to take it off?
I am indeed, my darling. And thank you so much to the chat room again. I appreciate you all taking the time to tune in. All the links are in the description for everything to do with Mark's channels and what he's doing. I'm also going to put a link in the description for the GoFundMe for the Global Tour as well. Please donate if you can. And we shall be back tomorrow, hopefully. Time to be confirmed. It'll probably be a little bit earlier, but we will see you tomorrow. So thank you for tuning in to Connecting the Dots.
Bye.